really threw a Subway sandwich. This man really threw a Subway sandwich at these agents. You people here, boy. There's really, you people need help in this country, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot of y'all with this derangement, Trump derangement syndrome. Y'all need help, boy, for real.
So President Trump has vowed to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. And as part of his effort to fight crime, he's bringing in our federal law enforcement partners like FBI, ATF, DEA, or Park Police, everybody to help the Metropolitan PD fight crime. And the president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there. Stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I tell you, what a time to be alive. You know, these people have lost their minds, man. We're seeing people throw a Subway sandwich on federal agents. At this point, I tell you, man. Now, I know that Subway stopped doing the $5 footlong. I know, family. I know. Trust me. But it shouldn't get to this point, though, you know. But as we know, man, this the F around and find out movement is in full effect. Yeah, new sheriffs are in town, and they are not effing around. I told you. And he just found out the hard way. But they say crime isn't down, dude. Prosecution is. Crimes are down because they don't report. This is a silly assault, but it's still an assault. Lock him up. How can anybody be against extra law enforcement in DC to keep people safe? You know, he's going to wish he ate that sandwich when he gets his first tray of jail food. But before we get into today's video, man, today's show, I want to just send our love, respect, a huge thank you to the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice, our troops down there, our first responders, law enforcement. You know, I know they got to deal with this foolishness every single day, you know, every single day, man, you know, and what they're putting at risk every single day of their life, you know, I tell you, man, I want to send our love, our respect, and a huge thank you to those out there doing their job. And thank you for your service. But you just can't make this up, man. And I told you, the Trump administration is not going with what they're saying, what these people over here are saying, or what the data says right here. You know, we are cracking down heavy. The hell with your numbers. Y'all can keep counting, stop counting, you know, but they are in full force right now. You know, and they're cleaning the mess up. We are cleaning the mess up. Simple. So we got to see crap like this. Look. And y'all gonna F around and find out.
Yeah, so throwing a sandwich at an FBI agent never ends well for anyone. But I'm sure you've heard the news. There are a ton of federal agents and National Guard that are patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C.
I get a call or something right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
If you are unaware, this is quite literally a 30-day federal surge, and we have already seen up to 100 arrests in Washington, D.C.
And robberies down too. But she acknowledged the president is within his rights to make these moves since D.C. is not a state.
Okay, before we get to an FBI agent being attacked with a sandwich, let's talk about this downward trend. This is 100% true. What happened was in 2023, there was a big spike in violence and crime, and then yes, the trend is going down, but the part you're not hearing about is that the average right now in Washington, D.C., as far as crime, is still considered high when you compare it to other cities in the United States.
In our city.
They're what?
You see these fascists right here in our
Fascists?
People have lost their mind, man. I tell you, the derangement syndrome we have in this country with these activists, leftists, liberal, these deranged folks, these people need help, man. I'm telling you. Like, I never thought I would see the day I'll see somebody throw a Subway sandwich at a federal agent. I just...
Shame! Shame!
Fascists, Nazis, man, y'all are ridiculous.
Shame! Shame!
Y'all laughing, but that's the truth. We really talking real shit.
Shame!
Y'all need to do some background studying about the federal.
This was after he threw the sandwich.
Keep everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3, anything like that people are putting up. All right. So yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen.
And I'll tell you that down there, that you see people in DC now posting videos all over TikTok. If we had one, we might put it up, you know. But I showed it in yesterday's show. They're saying, man, it's quiet. It's a little more peaceful, quiet. They don't smell that good old majaja in the air. Oh yeah, they say, man, people got their act in order. People walking around a little different down there in DC now with this going on. I'm just saying that's what they're reporting on down there. They making viral TikTok videos. I know I showed y'all some in yesterday's show of people say how it is down there in DC right now. But oh boy,
outside, right? Most people know that.
I am really curious how you feel about this video. The original intention of this video, you can even see the face palm on the screen, is to try and make the federal agents look bad. Look how annoying they are. They are coming up to us, they are talking to us. However, when you read the comments on the video, it's actually the opposite response. The majority of people seem to be very happy that federal agents are trying to clean up the city, not just by arresting people left and right.
Who would not be happy unless you know, ain't do things the right way or haven't been doing things the right way, or you're in some big trouble or trying to hide from something, then hey.
But by actually educating the public on a crime they shouldn't be doing.
It's going on down there.
Okay, first things first, this is a really cool shot, but what is the actual job of the National Guard? Are they really going to be patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. and arresting people?
Well, Kate, this is your first really confirmed and significant visual of the National Guard deployment and the increased federal law enforcement presence in the city of Washington. This is a series of 5 armored personnel carriers that have lined up here basically at the foot of the Washington Monument. The monument is about a block over my shoulder. You might be able to see it there. These guys are lined up here now. As far as where they're going tonight, whether they're going to patrol this area around the mall and the monuments or go to other neighborhoods, they are not saying. They're referring us to their public information people. We've tried to reach out to them, and they've not gotten back to us. So the specific mission of these armored personnel carriers, not clear tonight. Now, what we have been told, though, guys, is that the overall mission of the National Guard will be logistics, it will be administrative, but they will have the authority to briefly detain people if it comes to that.
So this seems to be the textbook answer for the National Guard. We're doing administrative roles. We're doing logistical roles. Basically what that means is we are on standby or we're in the area to make sure if you need help, we're going to be there. But this is very crucial because a lot of times the media, they love to sensationalize the National Guard. Oh my gosh, military vehicles in an area. Basically, like we have been seeing, the National Guard, they are allowed to detain you, but legally speaking, the actual arrest will be done by an officer or a federal officer.
They're, we'll just say that they're very liberal. And
MSNBC.
He says, this may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes. Quite a change from a decade ago when things were much calmer. Well, that actually sounds like the D.C. that I lived in when
Look, when MSNBC is even acknowledging
yes, yeah. Even, and it's not, we showed a clip from the other news channel, the lady in DC, fully, I mean, they had a whole, her and her co-host were going, yeah, we were just, witnessed this happen the other day. You know, carjackings, robbery, the guy pulled out a weapon. I mean, they were live on television saying this. And they were praising President Trump. Yeah. The fake news media. The Trump deranged media. Yeah.
There is a crime problem in Washington, D.C., then Donald Trump might be doing something right. But I do want to show you guys, there are politicians who say otherwise. This is a congressman battling it out with Scott Jennings, trying to say this is all a bad idea.
I mean, by that token, you would leave the illegal gun.
A gun becomes illegal when a violent person uses it on another person.
That's
what happens.
You need to look a little bit more into how this. We're talking about where a gun starts and where it ends. Guns on the black market. And the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act,
Republicans don't support.
Then why is Donald Trump getting rid of all the programming, all the funding in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which is the reason why the last 3 years,
the issue in DC
gun violence has gone down the most we've seen in the history of this country. We still have a lot of work to do. People still feel not safe, but there's still work to do here.
I would just say this.
I still think there is a chance that we might see Scott Jennings run as a senator in Kentucky. He already has the backing from Donald Trump, but again, he's just making the point that
he's keeping the lights on at CNN. I'm CNN. The hell with CNN.
Look, all of the tools that are being used by the criminals in Washington, D.C., it doesn't eliminate the fact that these people are still bad people and criminals, and they're still doing the crime.
I am very clear that I will work with anyone, but I will bow down to no one. And I understand where my constitutional authority begins, and I understand where my constitutional authority allows me to do. And as the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard, I have the sole responsibility and the sole honor of being able to determine how, when, and why the Maryland National Guard is utilized.
So that was the governor of Maryland, and as you can see, he felt a little threatened that Donald Trump might utilize the National Guard in a way he doesn't seem fit. One thing you have to
we showed that to y'all yesterday.
Remember is that Donald Trump did throw the idea out there. If things work out in Washington, D.C., I might throw out the National Guard in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, and other problematic cities that need a little more help with their crime.
The polling that you showed earlier, combining people who thought crime is an extreme problem or crime is a moderate problem, was 91%.
Yeah,
so that is,
I totally agree.
So 91% of people who live in a jurisdiction think it's a moderate or an extreme problem. This is not a figment of anyone's imagination. This is not mass hysteria. This isn't, some, collective hallucination. It's real. People who live there know they aren't safe, and so I don't know, Chuck, why anybody would care whether it's a police officer, to Arthur, to your point, or a National Guardsman, or a park police, who also were out patrolling apparently. I don't know why they would care if there are more eyes and ears on the street that makes them feel like if somebody is going to do something criminal or violent or untoward, there may be a greater chance that someone sees it.
So
y'all see how Scott got everybody looking? I'll tell you, keeping the lights on at CNN. Look how Scott got everybody just stuck in their shoes on the show. You just can't make this up. I want to look. But I want to get into the F around and find out for the end part of this show. I think this is it right here.
I slipped, all right? I'm still thinking VCR.
All right. Today, the Trump administration is expanding its crime crackdown in D.C. by deploying over 400 members of the National Guard. The number of troops on patrol is expected to double by the end of the week.
So Mark Meredith is in Washington at the White House with the details. Hey, Mark.
Brian, what's a VCR? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm old enough for that. Good morning to you guys. The D.C. crime crackdown continues with at least 100 arrests already made this week, and the Trump administration expected to deploy more resources throughout the district by this weekend. We have seen a number of crimes still pop up, though, with homicides as well as other notable events. There are still questions how long this deployment may last. The president says the federalization of D.C.'s police department is years overdue. He also hopes to extend this emergency despite lingering questions on his authority to do so.
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress before Congress very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously.
Some protests have popped up. There are reports there's a huge uptick in demand for paid protesters, with some having ties to far left activist groups. This was one that we saw on Monday. There's also an immigration tie to all this, officials vowing to secure D.C., similar to what we saw in border communities over earlier this year. And some people are also still testing the limits, with one man facing now federal charges of assault on an officer after allegedly throwing a Subway sandwich at police while they were on patrol.
He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
Congress will also get its say in all of this. They remain on their August recess, but you can imagine this debate over the authority over D.C. will come back front and center when they return in September. Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence.
Hey, Mark, is it disconcerting, or how would you describe seeing the camouflage, the trucks, the military at the mall and everything? What's it like there?
It's not what you may think. You know, my wife asks me every day, she's like, where are the National Guard troops? We've been looking throughout Union Station. There's some there right on the National Mall near the Washington Monument. The idea here is to just show a strength of force, that the idea that there is a problem here that is being addressed. There is still this debate here locally with the mayor, the police chief about authority, whether or not this is necessary or not. But the real question, guys, will we see a difference here a month from now? Will crime have significantly come down, or will there still be issues? And I truly believe by this weekend, when we usually see those huge outbursts of violent events, whether they're at the wharf or on the National Mall, whether or not that happens or not. I think that'll be the true test. I would set your VCR, Brian, if you want to find out.
Play record, baby.
Well played, Mark.
And in less than a week, they've taken 100 violent criminals off the streets. I think it's great. I wouldn't mind seeing the National Guard, especially if it's in areas where there's a lot of crime. I mean, think about Times Square. There's a lot of crime there. We cover a lot of stories there. If they had National Guard troops in Times Square, it would make me feel safer.
So a couple of things about the National Guard. The reason why you need the National Guard is to free up some of the other law enforcement officials when they're at the monuments covering those shifts. Now you put the National Guard there, you free up those local law enforcement so they can be in the community doing the policing there. The second thing I've discovered as I talk to Democrats and try to get their POV, they really don't disagree that there's a crime problem. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I was listening to another network, and they were reading a text message from someone very liberal who said that they agree with the crime being a problem, but they just don't like the president and think that he's using this for PR. So,
there's another thing to add to that, too. I saw Maggie Haberman, and I think it was Ezra Klein, Chris Kaliza, so known for center-left columnists and podcasters. They said, hey, Democrats, don't get on the wrong side of this. Think about it, because you're going to bat for crime. Because if you go against Trump just because on instinct, you're going to find yourself boxed into a corner because you have these anecdotes of Henry Cuellar getting carjacked, the Democratic congressman, a congresswoman from Minnesota being assaulted on her way to an apartment. You have a shooting a block away from the White House. You had a murder on Sunday night. So as you criticize, people are saying, well, I live here and I kind of agree with the president, even if I didn't vote for him. So don't get boxed in here. Pick your spots.
Right. I mean, we can relate to that living in New York City. I mean, even our Democratic friends were excited when crime started going down in the city, because when you're living in a city that you love so much, and like we talked about yesterday in Baltimore, where crime is so bad, when you live there and you used to take your kids to the park and have picnics and have outdoor movies, like this article talked about, the lady in Baltimore wants to sell her house. She can't sell it because there are drug deals going on right across the street from her. The real estate agent said, there's no one that's going to buy your house. There are 12 people right across the street doing drugs and selling drugs. So she said, I'm stuck and I can't afford to just leave without selling my house. It was you that interviewed the governor yesterday, right? The governor of Maryland. And Wes Moore had this to say. He doesn't agree with sending in the National Guard. Listen.
We were able to receive some really encouraging and historic results in Baltimore and around the state of Maryland, and I never once had to mobilize the National Guard in order to accomplish those feats. I can tell you right now, what people want more than anything in those communities is they don't want performative, they want performance. Right? They're not looking for someone to walk around with military fatigues and a big gun. They're looking for someone who actually understands how to make people feel safe and how to make people actually safe in their communities. Our National Guards are not trained for this. I'm very specific about my role as Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard, and we know the missions that they are trained for, and municipal policing is not one of them. And so if we want to be serious about making people safe, let's actually do the things that make people safe.
So my point to the governor was, you guys have made some progress, but you're still number 3 when it comes to murders. You haven't accomplished the goal here. So why not use every resource that you need? And my final comment to him as he was talking about the National Guard is like, they should be overseas. And I simply put to him, there's more brothers dying here than overseas. So why wouldn't you send as much of the resources that you could to solve this problem?
And I just want to add this. When Kathy Hochul put the National Guard in the subways,
Stay woke.
was that the natural environment? No. But she said, I want to give people the sense of security. So they're back up. If things get out of control, riots happen, they're going to go in. Got it. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. There's a message being sent from Los Angeles to D.C. now. If you don't straighten up your city, we're sending in the National Guard, which you don't want, you find embarrassing, and you think it's a victory for Trump. Well, if you don't want it, straighten out your act. It's also highlighted the fact that there are 800 cops down in D.C. There are 3,000 down in New York. There are about 4,000, if not more, in Los Angeles. So it underlines, wow, why don't we have the forces? We do have the money, but we don't have the interest, because for the longest time you marginalize cops and you're not prosecuting criminals. It's all related. It was all outlined with the president's team on Monday.
Caroline Levitt is going to be with us around 8:20 this morning.